the height was perfect though.
Yeah, you were right on.
Okay, so I'm aiming at that kind of that cluster there in the middle.
Got it.
Right there.
You smacked it.
Okay guys, Mike here from Panther Hollow Sporting Optics. Today we are talking about dialable MOA and dialable meridians. And why is that important? So, I get a lot of questions about how are my guns set up? What is the setup on your rifle and why? So, to start off with, I use a 40 MOA rail. Why would I use a 40 MOA rail? That 40 MOA rail tilts the scope towards the barrel and gives me as much elevation as possible as I get out of the scope. Now, I'm not at the bottom of the erector set, but I'm close to. So this gun is zeroed. Let's check and see how many dialable, this is a mil version, mil radian, do we have in this scope. So we have, there's 10, so I have 22 mils in this scope. 22 dialable mils. That's not counting the hold off in the reticle. So at 22 mils with this setup, I can get out to 1,600 yards. Would I ever shoot this gun 1,600 yards? Possibly, but I play most of the time around 1,250. I'm also getting questions, why do I run mil and why do I run MOA? So this is a competition setup, and if I'm only shooting at MOA size targets, this is the setup that I would use for that. Not that I couldn't use MOA to get there, it just takes less dialing to get there with this setup. Now this is stray lock. As you can see, there's 1,600 yards there. That's 21.5 of dialable mil radian that I would need to get to 1,600 yards. So, that being said, this is a competition setup. I do this so I can dial faster to the yardage I need to, unless I'm doing holdovers. Short range I do holdovers, long range I'll do a dial too. Now we'll change out guns here. Now we're looking at a Tract optic. With the Tract, that's MOA. So with the Tract optic, I can dial 94 MOA. So let's do that. Let's count that. There's 25 per, actually it's 50 per revolution. I'm sorry, 25 per revolution. So there's 25, there's 50, there's 75, and 19. And that is 94 MOA of vertical travel in this gun. So if we look at that, that would get me past a mile. So 94 MOA would get me past 1760. So let's look at stray lock. So 92 MOA is what I need to get to 1 mile. So I go past a mile with that setup. Would I ever shoot that setup past a mile? I would occasionally, but not every day. I mean, most of our stuff is 1250 and in. Why do I run an MOA setup on this gun right here particularly? Because this is the gun I use in our matches. I say the Panther Hollow matches that we put on, the golf ball matches and whatnot. The reason I use MOA is because I can dial in tighter than I can with mil radian. So you do have to dial more when you're trying to get to an MOA size target, but you can be more precise here. Well, how much more precise would that be? Most of the time we shoot the golf ball at around 500 yards. At 500 yards on a mill setup, not MOA, but a mill setup at 500 yards, 1/10 of a mil is 1.8 inches. Okay? That means that 1.8 inches, so a golf ball is 1 3/4 big. So you could dial 1/10 of a click and be off the golf ball. So you'd have to be doing hold offs at that point. If hold offs your game, then that hold offs is your game. MOA, 1 click at 1,000 is 2.61 inches. So at 500 yards, it's 1.3 inches per 1/4 MOA at 500 yards. Now then, that puts me within the circumference of a golf ball. That's why I use MOA versus mil for our matches. For PRS matches, you're shooting a MOA size target. It doesn't really matter if you can dial there faster with a mil radian version. That would be better, because a lot of that stuff is about how fast can you dial to a target. On our stuff that we do here at home, I like to dial in closer, tighter, and that's why I run MOA here. That being said, the Tract, the Titan, and then the next scope we're going to look at will be the MOA version of an Arken. So let's see what an Arken has. If you put a 40 MOA rail on an Arken, how much direct dial do you have? Alright, so let's count this guy here. He's not wanting to set this very well. So we're at 0. There's 25. There's 50. There's 75. So we've got 75 and 16, 85, 91. So we've got 91 MOA of elevation in this gun right here with a 40 MOA rail. So you need 92 to get to a mile. We have 91 dialable right here in an Arken, guys. Anybody that knows me knows this setup. This setup is, I won't say infamous, but it's been used in matches. It's been very successful in matches with different shooters behind it. This setup is proven accurate. Accurate on a level in which that I would never separate this setup. I like this setup. It works well. A lot of people underestimate this setup. But there again, we're talking about MOA versus mil and why you would do certain things. So that being said, 91 with a 40 MOA rail. I'm not quite at the bottom of the director set. I'm close with this guy. Just to give you an idea of what and why I do certain things a certain way. And we'll go back to the Titan. Here's the Titan again. This is a setup I'm going to run all season. This is going to be my PRS setup. I might shoot it in our matches. Depending on what we're doing, I might switch out guns. I like to keep up with both mil radian and MOA. This just helps me stay sharp, and I sell both scopes, MOA and Mill Radian, in 3 different flavors or 3 different brands of scopes. So the only reason I don't have an Athlon on here is because I've had an Athlon mounted up and I used it. I'm building a separate build for testing scopes. This build's going to stay this way. The gray gun you've seen with the Tract on it, Tract Torics, it's going to stay that way all season. I want to run these guns. I've been doing a lot of scope switching. I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to strictly stick with one setup for matches and another setup for testing. So this is Mike from Panther Hollow Sporting Optics. Again, if you have any questions, I think I fielded most of the questions there with that little tutorial. If you want to get a hold of me, my number is on the advertisement there, and also you'll see it on the YouTube page. Just give me a call sometime. I pick up my phone all the time. I'm more than happy to talk to people about long range stuff, setups. If you have a certain question about a certain gun, if I can help you there, I will. If I don't know, I'll just simply tell you I don't know. Anyways, like, share, subscribe. This is just a quick informational video on some questions I got about why I set my guns up a certain way. A lot of the rings I use, just for a quick fun fact, is Arken. I use Arken rings most of the time. Depending on the scope bell, yeah, I'll either use medium or high. So that being said, you guys have a good week and have a great start to your year. I appreciate you guys watching my videos. This is Mike from Panther Hollow. You guys have a good one.